Is everyone ready?
There you go.
Hello and welcome to Geeks Assembled. And today we're going to be reviewing the Daniel Craig James Bond film Casino Royale. His first turn in the role of Bond. So first we'll go over to opening thoughts. Let's go over to Tim first. Tim, what's your opening thoughts?
Whoa. It was quite a surprise at the time, wasn't it? Very good. There was a lot of speculation at first before this came out, saying, "Oh, you can't have a blonde Bond" or what, all that nonsense. But Craig is an excellent actor, and this is an excellent movie. This is probably, I know it's probably your favorite, but it's one of the best, I think, as far as assembling the set pieces and getting it going. Um, the first of all, the opening song is brilliant. Chris Cornell, the late Chris Cornell, sadly. It's an excellent song, and also the music in the film has gone back to a sort of Barry-esque kind of score. I remember last time we spoke about the '90s music that was kind of dated, GoldenEye a little bit. But anyway, yeah, this is an excellent score. They utilize bits of the theme tune throughout. They don't bother with the second theme tune. They just play it again over the end, which is awesome. Uh, but yeah, this is a really good, well constructed Bond film. Uh, I do think that it goes on a little bit too long towards the top half. I think they could have trimmed it slightly and made it a bit more. Because I would try to bring a Bond movie in at 2:15 at the most. I mean, this one runs at 2.5, which is okay because they do set up a kind of drama, the kind of story. It kind of rivals on Her Majesty's Secret Service because for once again, he's in love with the Bond girl, and he's going to give it all up for her, and that's they go down that course, and then of course the tragedy strikes, and of course she's gone. So it's a really good film in that way. It kind of reminds you of that earlier film, and I do think that I don't know if it's just because of the actress or because of the way the character is written, but Eva Green is brilliant in this. Not to mention stunning to look at. She is one of the best ones, I think. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot to talk about as far as the set pieces. There's some other neat little tricks because technically this is a relaunch of the series, and so you've really got basically he earns his 007 in this one, I think, at the beginning, and he goes on to he still squabbles with M quite a bit. He's still brilliantly played by Judi Dench, but it has a sort of newness to the whole film, which I really enjoyed about it. Watching it again, I hadn't seen it in about 10 years when I watched it back this week, and it's just an amazing piece of work. It's an excellent film, brilliantly directed, and brilliant acting from everybody involved. I'd say. I like too how Mads Mikkelsen's character. He's the bad guy, right? He's the baddie, but suddenly he's just like that. He's out because I mean he has his own troubles. He's trying to get this money because he owes it. So there's a lot of twists and turns like that on the way, and it's just an amazing piece of work. That's all I got for now.
Thank you, Tim. Let's go over to Lee next. Lee, what's your opening thoughts?
Can you believe that it was 2006?
Yeah, it's ages ago now.
um, yeah, I like it because whoever came up with this, let's do a Casino Royale. And you think, yeah, why didn't they ever do that back in the Connery days or the Moore days? I know we had the comedy, the spoof one in '67, but it took so long for them to come round to Casino Royale for some reason. I mean, we had, was it 5 movies before this? What were non-Fleming, stories?
Yeah.
So I don't know whoever came up with that. Thumbs up for going back to a long-awaited proper Casino Royale movie. Yeah, really well shot. The scenery shots in these are brilliant. The car chases, even the action scenes, the fight, they're just so well shot. I was a bit dubious when Daniel Craig was announced. I wasn't on the blonde, shouldn't have a blonde thing, but because I knew him from a few films beforehand. I think it was it Layer Cake before this one?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, there was that, and there was another film I'd seen him in before that. Um, I thought, I don't know. I don't really know his work that well to say it'd be good or not. But he pulls it off really well. I mean, he's a violent Bond. He goes through a hell of a lot of pain in this. Literally, it's one of those scenes what makes me squirm. Well, I'll come to that in favourite moments. And yeah, it's cars and girls and gambling. That's what it is. There's no world domination in this one really. It's owing a lot. It's all about money. And we get Judi Dench back as M as well, which I think she's amazing. I mean, she's not in it much, but I think the only thing missing in this was the Q. Was it Q? Wasn't in this one, was he? No.
No.
Yeah. But yeah, enjoyed it. Really did that. It's I would say of the movies what followed after this, those movies had a lot to live up to, and in my opinion, they haven't. This was the benchmark for Daniel Craig, and I'm afraid, in my personal opinion, they haven't been as good, but they are good, but not as good as this. This came back with pow, it hit you in the face. So that's my opening thoughts.
That's a good opinion. I'm sure you'll be invited back on the show. Susan, you next. What's your opening thoughts?
Well, okay. Casino Royale started in it starts in black and white, and that was cool. You know, the Warner Brothers logo was in black and white, and it didn't get to color until the credits, and that was really cool. And let's see, it was
Let's just clarify, MGM, not Warner Brothers.
oh yeah, sorry, MGM, and
Don't want any court cases.
the uh, I guess it was a bit closer to the book than the '67 comedy was, but the one that was closer was actually the '50s TV show, and there were more American actors in that, and he was called Jimmy Bond, and it was like an hour or so. But this is 2.5 hours or more, like Tim was saying, and Mads was amazing. Holy crap, Mads Mikkelsen. He played he played uh, Hannibal Lecter in the TV show Hannibal, and I mean the guy is good with gruesome. That guy has gruesome chops. He's great. Anyway, really liked him, and I really liked Daniel Craig. Uh, let's see. Um, it was the settings were lovely. It was set in you know in the casino in Venice and in Croatia, and so the setting was absolutely beautiful. Um, and uh, yeah, it has some super super cringe, super gruesome moments, and a really good car chase. And oh, it's also in the Bermuda for a long time. The setting is in Bermuda for a long time, and I just love the sets. I love where Bond films take you, because part of the magic of the Bond films is that they take you to these exotic locales with gorgeous scenery and sexy people, and you know that when you're just going down to the corner shop to buy your milk, you're not going to run into people in ski gear, or in this case in a fabulous evening dress, or you know, a beautiful black tuxedo, that you're just not going to run into people looking so hot in your daily life. And that's just the really cool thing about Bond films. And yeah, so um yeah, I'll let the oh yeah, and then there's that the whole the whole Vesper thing at the end, which is heartbreaking. And yeah, it's brutal, and it's heartbreaking, and it's really exotically sexy. And so yeah, that's James Bond. Um, Back over to you, Connor.
Thank you, Susan. So my opening thoughts. Yeah, I think that this is the best Bond film. Um, Daniel Craig, and I know that there was an awful lot of stuff about him being too short and too blonde, but to be honest, he's actually the best Bond, in my opinion. He's really brutal as well, which I like. He's particularly brutal in this film. I thought that this is probably, he's not had the best run, um, but I think in terms of like building his character as Bond, this is the one where he kind of showcases everything. The stunt work and the fight work is top notch. I thought the crane sequence where he's chasing the parkour was unbelievable. That's actually probably one of my favorite film scenes of all time. That was just insane, and he did all his own stunts on that as well. I mean, it might be easy to think that that's a stunt man jumping between the two cranes, but it's not. That's actually Daniel Craig doing that. So it's just unbelievable physicality and work that he put into this one film. Um, the story, I read the book, and I can kind of see why they might not have adapted it first. I think they didn't adapt it first because it would cost too much. Because there is quite a lot in the book that would cost an awful lot for 1962. But also because about 75% to 80% of the book's just a card game. It's a lot longer in the book than it is in the film. And in fact, I thought in the film that was also some parts that could have been trimmed down a little bit. Is the whole poker thing. Um, it's not really accessible in that I don't understand poker that well. So when you never really know when the stakes are high and when they're low if you don't understand poker, and I felt that's a little bit of a fallback of the film. But apparently, them scenes aren't very accurate anyway to the actual game. There's a lot of fictionalized elements of them that are there for the purpose of driving the story forward. Eva Green is one of my absolute favorite Bond girls. I think she's amazing. She's very sexy. I think that one of the issues is though the fact that she's kind of betrayed him is brought in a bit too late. I think it must. I think it's in the final 20 minutes that he really kind of realizes um, that she's betrayed him, and so then you rush between like a strange chase, which ends in her dying, and then you almost get an extra film out of it because Quantum of Solace kind of deals with the aftermath of that, and that's a rubbish film. So it's on. I think in many ways they could have cut it down, but they could have made the story a lot more concise. Having said that, um, yeah, it's probably the most rewatchable Bond film I find, maybe apart from On Her Majesty's Secret Service, because it's just there's so many great scenes. And for 2006 to reintroduce Bond and to reboot it, as Tim said, I think it was the best choice. I'm glad that they did eventually get around to doing Casino Royale. Mads Mikkelsen, I do like the idea that he's not really a heavyweight Bond villain. He has his motivations for doing what he's doing, but he's really in over his head. He's not really a villain. He's just a man that's in over his head. And I think in the book that's kind of explored as well, that he's not really, he's connected to Smersh or Spectre, but he's really just got caught up in something that he was a bit of an idiot to get himself involved in the first place. And Jesper Christiansen as Mr. White, who would make several more appearances as well. The end scene where Bond first says, where Daniel Craig's Bond first says the name's Bond, James Bond. That is an iconic scene with the machine gun. That's unbelievable. I love that scene. It's just full of great moments, and Daniel Craig is such a good actor. He kind of, you believe the emotional side of the story as much as you believe that he's actually a brutal killer. And Daniel Craig really pulls off, like Timothy Dalton did, the kind of edgier, darker, brutal side of Bond as a character, and as the story kind of plays out. Yes, I think as a mix of everything that you kind of expect from Bond. Maybe apart from the gadgets. One thing about Daniel Craig is that the gadgets are a little bit more stripped back, particularly in this, because you don't have Q and you don't have Moneypenny. So you're missing three core elements of the franchise, but you can tell that they're kind of going for a more simpler, edgier way of telling a James Bond story. So other than that, I think it really is close to being the perfect Bond film overall. So that's my opening thoughts. We'll next go on to favourite moments. Let's go over to Lee. Lee, what's your favourite moments?
Yeah, the perfect Bond film's Moonraker, and you know it.
I fucking wish, but it's not, unfortunately.
As Tim said, the opening credits with the song "You Know My Name," it blows you away straight away. To come back with that, because it's usually a slow song or whatever, but or a pop song like they did with Duran Duran or something. But coming back with a bit of a edgier, and using a rock singer, which they hadn't really done. It was brilliant idea, great idea. Let's see, favorite moments. I love it when the poker. I'm like Connor. I don't understand poker. I'm more of Happy Families kind of guy, Mr. Bun the Baker and stuff like that. But the scene where he's poisoned during the game of poker, and he's rushing about trying to get his heart started again. That's just so well done, and it's on your edge of your seat, seeing that. I was watching it, and I realized I'm holding my breath when I'm watching it. So that was really well done, and sort of similar scene with the way he flips the car, because Vesper's in the middle of the road, laid in that. Just the roar in the car, and of course we have to go to the torture scene. But that's desperation on the Chiffre's side. He's a desperate man. He is that, he wants that money. He's going to torture him and any way he can, and that, just sit him on a chair with a rope. Whoa. I wouldn't like to be on the receiving end of that. But there again, some people pay good money for that. So yeah, there are a few of my favourite moments. Over to you, Connor.
Thank you, Lee. Susan, what's your favourite moments?
Well, that torture scene it was brutal. Let's see. Some of my favorite scenes were Mads with the inhaler. Um, gave him some weakness, so you knew that there was, the Bond's weakness was going to be. Bond was going to be sort of at some points more weak than others, just because Mads was, the villain was. Another part of one of my favorite scenes was uh, throwing the throwing down the stairs in the middle of the casino, where the two Africans come in and attack, and so that was amazing. The parkour, of course, his poisoning and his reanimation was great. The house crash, or what really was that? An apartment, a beautiful old building coming down with the elevator in the middle, and Vesper in the middle of the elevator, and the car crash was incredible, and also the beach scene and the in Bermuda was fantastic. Oh my gosh, so beautiful, so beautiful. And then that was reprised in the Mediterranean with the two of them in the with the sailboat moored out in the bay, whatever. It was gorgeous. Them on a solitary beach, like us normies never get to be on a beach in solitude with it just never seems to happen. Anyway, yeah, so those are some of my favorite scenes. I also don't, just like the other fellas here, don't completely get poker. Um, I don't play cards, and so a lot of that that was missing on me, but it was still an intense card game. I mean, like, especially when he doubled down and then he lost all the money, but then he was like walking in the hallway, and the CIA guy comes up and says, "Yeah, I'll stake you." I'm like, whoa, you know, isn't it great to be in the spy game and to know that? Anyway, fun. Let's see. Never quite understood what ellipsis has to do with anything, but whatever. Then the Mr. White shot in Croatia, freaking gorgeous. Anyway, yeah, back over to you, Connor.
Thank you, Susan. Tim, what's your favourite moments?
Well, it strikes me that the general aesthetic of this new this is a new Bond. I mean, this is the way they launched it, the way they put it out, and everything, and it's different. It's a lot edgier. It's a lot just even starting with the theme song. It's loud and you know my name. You know that's what this is. This is Bond. This ain't your daddy's James Bond. This is a new rougher, tougher Bond. I mean, like Lee mentioned, he's more violent. The opening scenes, he's beating up somebody in the restroom and whatnot, and he's earning his 007, I think, right? And everything about the film, I think, is that way. This feels fresh and new for something that's been around for 40 years at that point, and it's very hard to raise the bar so high, I think, because it is a formula. James Bond films, we've discussed it, as a formula. I mean, you have your set pieces, your pretty girls, your cars, your stunts, and all that stuff, and it all should add up to a nice package. And this one manages to do that. but he's a much tougher Bond. He's there's a lot of humor in this movie too, but it's not in your face. It's not the Roger Moore kind of humor. It's more like, I mean, like the wonderful scene when they meet on the plane and they're just flirting. I mean, they're flirting so hard with each other, but they're not really saying anything. You know what I mean? It's brilliant. Uh, Everything in this, I think, adds up to a bigger and bolder Bond. I mean, this guy, like we mentioned, he's much more violent. I mean, you're not really used to seeing that kind of stuff in this kind of movie, especially the torture scenes. That one just came out of nowhere, and I was like, what the hell? I mean, that's some serious stuff there, and just everything. I mean, I was gonna say my favorite scene is probably the unexpected end scene where he goes after the people, and there he is with his gun, just like, and that's the end of the, that's his James Bond. That's it. It's a brilliant ending to the film. Even though I do agree with Connor to a degree that the Vesper's story does get a little bit convoluted, because the truth is she has to be he has to be told by M that she was actually looking out for him. She had no choice but to double cross him. So anyway, yeah. So it's just brilliant. I think you're right. It probably is the best film, only from the viewpoint of somebody who's seen all the other ones, and then you're like, wow. And whether or not hit the follow-ups to it or good or not, or we're able to meet that bar, I mean, that's a choice for another day. But I think they did raise the bar very high in this one, like Lee said. Oh, and the scenes with the poker, I don't think you really have to understand the game to get the point. It's very well done. It's very tense. I mean, those scenes are just as tense as the rest of it. So you're like, okay, because you would think, oh, it's got a lot of poker in it. It's gonna be really boring to watch, but it's not. They managed to make those scenes just as intense as like the scene when he gets poisoned inadvertently. It's just each set piece is like, how's he gonna get out of that one? So it's an amazing film, not just for a Bond film. It's just an amazing adventure film.
Thank you, Tim. My favorite moment. So I mentioned the parkour scene. That's unbelievable. That's probably my absolute favorite moment of the entire film. Everyone's mentioned them really. I do like the stairwell fight, followed by that quite intimate shower scene where they're sat in the shower, and Bond's covered in blood, with Vesper. That's quite nice. That's what I mean by he kind of captures the emotional side of Bond as well, quite a lot. Quite a lot better than some other Bonds do, especially someone like Timothy Dalton, who can only really play the brutal side quite well. But I think he struggles more in comparison to Daniel Craig with the emotional side. Yeah, the torture scene. Um, Everyone will know that you died scratching my balls. It's just, that line is just, no one's going to forget that line. No, it is so good. It's probably his best line in all of his movies. I think he'd probably say the same. I think he'd say he's never got a better line than that. Yeah, I think there's just so many great scenes, and I think it really has not been matched since. I think the only one that came maybe close is Skyfall, but the only thing to me that Skyfall really excels in is the fact that it's got a great villain. And I do like how it's kind of personal. I didn't used to like that, but I've kind of got used to it. And as a result, I do enjoy. I think it's a lot better at being a personal story than something like Spectre was, which was a bit dull on several rewatches. Um, yeah, it's a great start to Daniel Craig's era, and the reason why the CIA guy staked him in is because that's Felix Leiter, and so they were working together. Um, and that happens in the books as well. In fact, in the books, he gets attacked by two people, and he disarms one of them by rocking back on his chair and falling off his chair. And that's not in the film. And I think it's because it's a bit fun. It's a bit comedic. But that is a good moment in the book. I like Vesper's introduction. I think on the train, or the plane. I can't remember which one it was. That like I am the money. That's a great first line. She's just she kind of matches Bond. I think she's not a physical Bond girl in that she doesn't do an awful lot of fighting, but temperament wise, she absolutely is his match. Intelligence wise, she's his match. A bit more than Tracy was. So yeah, I think there's just so many great moments already mentioned that I've mentioned myself and everyone else has mentioned. We'd be here forever, I think, reeling them all off. To be honest with you, because actually, I would say it's so perfect that not one scene feels out of place. So as a result, every scene kind of feels consequential, and as a result of that, they all feel like great moments that matter. So I think that's kind of what encapsulates Casino Royale as being the best Bond film. Really, is that it's a long film, but it's so well put together that no scene is not memorable and feels wasted. Although I do wish that they could have done a bit better explaining the poker bit. I think that's a bit where exposition kind of would help. There are moments when Felix kind of interjects, and not Felix, what's his name? Matthias. Felix and Matthias do actually both. They interject and kind of explain to Vesper what's going on, but that's your only exposition. Other than that, you kind of have to know poker, I think, to in many ways understand the stakes of it.
I think that you don't really have to. You're right. Some hands are bigger than others. That's about it. But I mean, I think that they managed to pull it off because you can tell by what they're betting. You know, when they go, like he goes crazy and bets it all and loses, and that's why Vesper gets really upset and says you can't do that. I mean, so you get that the stakes are there. That's what I mean. The scenes are intense without really understanding the game. I think I think they pull that off pretty good.
Yeah, I think because I do know that some of it was fictionalized. I do think, yeah, it's probably not as you probably don't have to understand it as much as I'm kind of putting it across as you do. But yeah, I think I do always watch it kind of wishing that I understood poker.
Well, learn then. Learn.
I will probably learn. I'm not a gambling man, though, unfortunately, so I can't. That would be betraying my core principles.
Coming on these casts, you are definitely a gambling man.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. But yeah, that's my favourite moments. So next we'll go on to final.
Well, I've got a question for you though, Connor.
Yes.
Well, so this was Casino Royale was, as it's been said, a reboot of this franchise. With Daniel Craig leaving with No Time to Die, whenever that gets released.
Never at this rate.
Never say never again. How whoever takes over the role, do you think it's going to be another reboot, or do you think they're going to?
Well, because of the way that Hollywood works these days, it probably is. Or they'll remake an old film.
Oh, give us Riciscio. I want Riciscio.
I'd like Riciscio, yeah. I
Who?
don't know.
Riciscio. It's a short story by Fleming.
It wouldn't benefit from a reboot, I think.
No. Well, you see, I came into when this was released. I didn't realise it was going to be a reboot until you're watching it, and then you find out he hasn't got his 00 number yet. And right, going back. So
because you've done his origin story.
I think you'd call it a soft reboot, to be fair, because you have changed the actor, but they like I said, they do make him much more harder. He's not like a Roger Moore kind of Bond. He's very violent. Yes, he's ready to kick some ass. I mean, he doesn't. He has no time.
Yeah, do you think they're going to carry on in that same sort of vein? or are they going to absolutely change the character again?
I think they'll absolutely change the character again. I think you have to. But if you look at, apart from Roger Moore, the other ones aren't really as much a departure from each other as like you're probably led to believe. There's two
No,
that are distinctly more brutal than the others. But other than that, I don't think there's much difference between Connery's, Lazenby's, and Brosnan's.
that's a pretty fair assessment. I mean, but how much of it do they leave up to the actors? I mean, involved. Like, for example, I think there was an attempt to tone down and go with more comedy from Moore because they know he's a more comedic actor. Even though,
Yeah.
I mean, in other words, they and when of course the reaction to him leaving was to go again with the tougher guy. I mean, so in other words, it kind of, you know, they go with the flow, I suppose. I mean, and it's hard to compare these movies to the older ones because they really are a different time. The stuff that Connery got away with, like in the first few movies, you wouldn't get away with today.
Yeah, I think with Bond, the only two things you can really change is how comedic it is and how edgy and dark it is. Everything else is kind of like embedded in the foundation of the books and the franchise, the movie franchise.
You watch, you're going to be really upset when it turns out to be a woman.
Nah, there's no reason to do that. There's no reason to do that.
It'll be a black man, but it'll never be a woman. I think that'll be.
I just don't see the point. You can just have a spinoff. I mean, and have a girl that does the same things.
I'm pulling his leg because I know he's a big Bond fan.
Yeah, I mean, like they've said, I wouldn't mind a black man. You can do a black man, but
you just actually say that.
What? That I wouldn't mind.
I think the color is immaterial. They should have done it by now, just to burn that bridge.
People could take that the wrong way, but you just said I wouldn't mind a black man.
In what? As in?
People could take that the wrong way.
Well, in this fucking day, they probably could, yeah. But you know, no, I wouldn't mind a person of color doing the role, which is what that is a debate that people are having. So to ignore that would be a bit ridiculous. I think I wouldn't mind. Yeah, I wouldn't mind that. That is immaterial. I think changing the gender.
Skin color doesn't matter at all.
Yeah,
as long as it's a damn good actor.
Gender, on the other hand, for James Bond, and this is not to be misogynistic or sexist, does matter because you have to change the character of James Bond.
But the thing is, you could do that anyway. You could have a similar series with a woman playing the lead who does kind of the same things, but in a more feminine way than the Bond character. You know what I mean? And it's been done before. Emma Peel was a bit of a Bond girl, wasn't she? I mean, if you think about it, that was a different show. But I mean,
Halle Berry's character, Jinx.
Yeah, and we're going to give her a spin-off and then scrapped it. So I don't know.
I just think that the idea that they're going to turn James Bond into is just the same nonsense that they keep throwing out there, trying to get people outraged on the internet and stuff. But I mean, at the end of the day, there's nothing wrong with a series about an agent who takes care of herself and gets all her work done and does all and still can beat any man at the job or whatever. You know, that kind of girl power type movie, which would probably be very popular and successful. I mean. But it has nothing to do with James Bond, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like Ghostbusters and fucking what were the other ones? Ghostbusters was, but people would have you believe that Ghostbusters was a success, I guess. So
Some people do.
Yeah, some people do. Yeah, we know who they are. Anyway, we'll move on to final say and scores. So let's go to Lee. What's your final sense?
Yeah, it's a brilliant movie. As I say, the locations, the scenery, the action. But the only thing I will agree with Tim is the length of the movie could have been cut down. I mean, 2.5 hours? For me, 2 hours would have been ideal. As you said, the last half hour, 18 minutes to a half hour, is the Vesper betrayal. Which, I don't know, they could have put that into the movie earlier on.
Yeah.
So for that reason and that reason alone, This is getting a 9 vodka martinis out of 10. And he created it in this movie.
He did.
That's true.
Yes, you're
Yeah,
right.
he did.
He did. Susan, what's your final saying score?
Well, I wouldn't mind a female Bond. I really like Daniel Craig though. He did a really great job as James Bond. He's a fantastic actor, and this is just it's so it's so full. This movie is so full of good stuff. It's so full. It's like eating everything. So I'll give it an 8 out of 10. It eats all of the major points, and it's got a great rollover scene. That car rollover was amazing. Anyway, apparently it was all a practical effect. It wasn't CG at all. Crazy. Fantastic stuff.
Thank you, Susan. Tim, what's your final saying score?
Well, I kind of agree with Lee to a certain degree about the length, and I think that there's some way they could have tightened it up. So it's, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's not offensive to have a long movie, but I mean, in the sense that it doesn't feel like it drags, but it seems like it should have been slightly shorter. But on the other hand, this is probably one of the most iconic films and one of the most successful relaunches of anything ever. And again, they do tick all the boxes, and they do present a film that's pretty shocking in some ways and pretty exciting and intense throughout. So I'm going to go ahead and give it a 10 anyway. I know everybody thinks that's what I do, but no, I do think that this is that film. This is that good of a film. They really did set the bar very high for the next one. Maybe that's why some people feel a bit let down by the subsequent movies. But I do think that they managed to make it very exciting again. It's not just your typical James Bond movie. So I'm going to sit with a 10.
Thank you, Tim. Yeah, I think it nails it pretty much in every aspect. The action, characterization, the story. So I think for that reason alone, it gets a 10 out of 10 from me. And I hope No Time to Die is equally as good to see off Daniel Craig's era, and it to close off the story that this film started, really, because there has been a through line with all of his films in many ways. So yeah, that's our review of Casino Royale. Make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications when we upload. If you want to join in on any of the casts at any point, just message Lee, and I'm sure that we can arrange for you to jump on at some point. So yeah, thanks for. Have I missed anything? I don't think I have. Have I? No. Yeah, seriously, thanks for watching, because like without you, we probably would have no viewers. That one viewer out there that's watching us right now.
Same one from day one.
I know that we do have some new fans recently. I have been made aware that we've got some new fans, which is always a nice thing.
Have we?
We have got some new fans, yeah.
Oh, it's first I've heard of this. Oh,
I know. I thought I'd keep it a secret for the next time that I host it.
Not Daniel Craig, is it?
God, no.
Oh.
It's Martin Scorsese. I'm on first name terms with him. So yeah, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.